Don't forget to like and share this broadcast with your friends and family on Facebook Live as well as on YouTube. Let all of your friends and family know to subscribe so that you know when the Center of Hope is going live.
Welcome to Real Talk. If it's Monday night and it's 9 p.m., it's time for Real Talk. And I'm your co-host tonight, Bishop Mitchell Taylor. Welcome tonight. Welcome to Real Talk on this evening. I'm just running in and getting settled in the studio on tonight. We have a very serious conversation we need to have on this evening. So I need you to hit the share button and tag as many people as you can. Get on the phone. Tell them tonight we're going to be talking about a very sensitive subject concerning Tyree Nichols. We're going to be showing a very sensitive video on tonight. Bless you, Shirley Shea. Bless you, Darlene Morgan. And the contents of that video are very, very disturbing. Very, very disturbing. And if you have young children in the room, you might want to ask them to leave because the footage that we're going to share tonight is very, very disturbing. It's more than disturbing. It's mind-shattering. And tonight, we're going to have a conversation. Bless you, Teresa. We're going to have a conversation tonight about the Tyree Nichols killing and the 5 officers or more that were involved and contributed to this young man's death, suffering a brutal beating, a savage, brutal beating at the hands of these officers. And, I'm just compelled to have the conversation on tonight. We're going to have a few guests on tonight with us. Former police inspector will be joining us on tonight. City Council member Charles Barron will be joining us on tonight. Former Black Panther member of the struggle will be with us on tonight. And so I need you to share this broadcast with as many people as you possibly can and let them know that Real Talk is on the air. And tonight it's going to be a real live conversation on this evening. Okay, so hit that share button and let folks know that we're on the air on tonight. Listen, I need everyone as you're coming into the virtual studio on tonight, I need you to put in the comment section, we're praying for the Nichols family. I just need you to put that in the comment section as you come in. Thank you, Mother Shea. We're praying for the Nichols family on this evening. We're praying for the Nichols family on this evening. We're going to have a real live conversation tonight with not only with you on tonight, but we're going to bring in some professionals on this evening and some folks that we know can add to the conversation. And I believe on tonight, we're going to have a rich and insightful dialogue. And, like I said, this is going to be very sensitive. I know it's going to be very sensitive because of the subject matter that we're going to be dealing with. Bless you, Yvonne. Bless you, Juanita. Bless you, Danette. Bless you, Alacia Davis. Got a chance to meet you on Saturday, I think it was, at the Leadership Summit that Dr. Page sponsored. Tremendous time we had on this weekend with him. Melinda Williams, bless you, Melinda. Yes, please. Thank you so much for putting in the comment section, praying for the Nichols family. Praying for the Nichols family. Yes, our co-host is here. I'm sorry, Bishop Liston Page. Please bring him on. I'm so sorry, Bishop. Keisha Allen, yes. Stella, yes. Sharon, yes. Yvette Powell, yes. Bishop, as you know, we've already talked about this today, and it has been chilling. It has been disturbing. It has been, I don't know. We were lost for words as, you know, we absorbed the gravity and just the whole essence of what we've experienced in seeing the brutal beating of this young man. And we're going to dissect it on tonight, as you know. Bless you, Bishop. Bless you, Bishop. Wow. I mean, I don't, you know, I'm scared to let you go because, you know, it just, you know, man, I mean, it brought me to tears. And it's probably going to bring us to tears again tonight when we show the video. And I want you to know, if you're watching, if you have small children, please don't let them be in the room when we show you this, because it is graphic and viewer discretion is advised. Bishop Page?
I mean, how do you articulate such an egregious, heinous, unacceptable? It doesn't make any rational cognitive sense that our own people now, we're preying upon our own people now. Taxpayers' money is provided to the police officers to protect us. They to protect and serve us, not to use power to abuse us. And what makes this so sad, our own people. But there were 6 cops. Where's the white officers that were tasing the brother?
Mm-hmm. Well,
where's the EMS individuals that for 23 minutes did not provide him with any medical attention? Why aren't their pictures being plastered on the news? I'm not trying to even create this to be a racial narrative, but here is another example.
Mm-hmm.
And those 4 cops, they should be put under the jail. I pray for their families. I pray for their children. I pray for their loved ones. But there must be consequences with this action. And I'm extremely angry tonight. I'm angered tonight because it seems like when we make 1 or 2 steps forward, we take 6 or 7 steps backward. Why are we still talking about things like this in 2023? Why do we have to highlight something so egregious as this? It's unacceptable. It was unnecessary to hear another black man 2 blocks from his home. They say something like a 2 blocks or a mile radius from his house, screaming out, "Mom," his mother. What's going on? Man, listen, this is a diabolical, darkened world we live in.
Now listen, hold your thing. I want to bring in retired Inspector Corey Pegasus from the NYPD, retired inspector from the NYPD. I might be demoting him. I think he may have been a retired chief, but he is a law enforcement professional. And I just want to bring him in for a second, and so we can just introduce him and bring us together for a second. Can we bring him? Yes, Corey, my brother.
Good evening, Bishop. Can you hear me, Bishop?
I could hear you perfectly, man. I know you just got off a plane, so I'm not holding to any of the technical difficulties on tonight. But please introduce yourself to the Real Talk audience on tonight. And my co-host, Bishop Liston Page.
Yes, Bishop Lister, thank you for having me. Only Bishop Taylor could get me to do this. I turned down Fox, CNN, and NBC today, but
Wow.
once Bishop called, I gotta come on in 10 minutes. So listen, yeah. Again, my name is Corey Pegues. I'm a retired deputy inspector from the New York City Police Department. 21 years of faithful service to the citizens of New York City, rose through the ranks again to deputy inspector, was the first black commanding officer in the 67th precinct, which is the second most violent precinct in the city of New York. And I also was a commander of PSA 2. So I had all our housing developments in East New York, Crown Heights, and Brownsville, the worst of the worst. So Ray Kelly, he put me through the fire to prove myself. I did very well. Fortunately, after 21 years, I was injured. I had a back injury, and I retired in 2008. After retirement, I wrote this best-selling book right here called Once a Cop, which was turned into a movie. I have a movie on Hulu right now called A Cops and Robbers Story. It's really quick. When I was young in the 80s, I sold a bunch of drugs, carried guns, shot at people, did all the crazy stuff, and changed my life to morph into what I am today. So that's
Well,
it.
listen,
Short version.
Inspector, listen, I am grateful that, first of all, I'm humbled that you would just got off the plane and said, Bishop, I'm putting my bags down, but let's take a shot. Let me see if I can do it. And you're here tonight. And so we're talking about a very sensitive subject matter, the brutal beating of Tyree Nichols. And I wanted to bring you in, Inspector, because right now I'm going to show some footage from the beating. And then I want to come back and I want us to talk about it, chop it up and break it up. The producer is going to put us on the sidebar and put the video center screen so the viewers and we together can look at it. And then we're going to come back in, talk about it, and chop it up and try to make sense out of this nonsense. And again, Bishop Page, thank you for what you said tonight, because yes, there are so many different lenses that we are going to peer through as we dissect what happened. But as you said, the officers that were held accountable, the officers that were not held accountable, the EMS workers, there's so many different dynamics. The fact that January 7th, the event happened, here we are now, January what date is this?
30th.
The 30th, the 31st, the 30th, whatever it may be. So look how quickly, when 5 black officers are involved in something as heinous as this, and I'm grateful that justice has been served quickly, but it has never been served that quickly on our white counterparts that have been involved in similar circumstances like this. And then, of course, what happened to, like you said, the other officers that were involved that were not black, the EMS workers that were walking around, all that stuff has yet to come into play. And so we're going to chop it up in just a couple of minutes. T, let's look at the video real quick.
You gonna get your ass blown the fuck off. Get the fuck out the car. Get the fuck out the fucking car. Damn, I didn't do anything. Hey, I didn't turn your ass around. All right. You don't do that, okay? Get on the fucking ground. Get on the ground. Okay. Take your ass. All right, I'm on the ground. Lay down. Please turn on the ground. I'm going to tase you. Get on the ground. One. Now. I tase you. All right. Okay. Break your shit. Okay, dude. Damn. Turn the fuck around. Put your fucking hands on your back. Bitch, put your hands behind your back. Okay, stop. I'm going to knock your ass the fuck out. You guys are really doing a lot right now. Bro, lay down. I'm just trying to go home. Man, if you don't lay down. I am on the ground. Put your hands behind your stomach. I got you. Okay. Get the fuck back. Stop! I'm not doing it. Oh, shit.
So as you can see right here, hold up. Just pause right here for 1 second. So as you can see, gentlemen, and I just want to, just before we go into more of this video, I want to bring on screen Council Member Charles Barron on tonight to join us. Dr. Barron?
Yes, sir.
We're joined by 3 of your colleagues, Bishop Liston Page and Deputy Inspector Corey, who you know quite well.
Yeah, I know Corey very well.
Right. And so what we're doing is we're dissecting this video. What just happened was they stopped Tyree and threw him to the ground and started, you know, trying to get him under control. And some kind of way, through all the melee, he got away and ran. And so now we're at that point. So we're just going to finish this, then we're going to come back and talk about this. Go ahead.
And Ross, taser was deployed. Suspect is running down Ross.
All right, now at this part, they apprehended him, right? They caught him, and they're on the ground. They're punching him, they're kicking him and whatnot. But this is not the worst of it. They just wait till you see what happens here. Boom! Kicked in the head once. Kicked in the head twice. The others are still hitting him. They're still punching him. They're spraying him with pepper spray now. Punching him. Watch this. Punch, 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 punch. He's handcuffed now. He's standing up handcuffed. He's a punching bag. Punch. All in the head. Punch. Now they take him down. They're punching him. He's already handcuffed. He's been handcuffed. He was handcuffed when he was standing up. They're punching him repeatedly. It's so dark. God knows what they're doing there. Can all I see is feet kicking. We don't have audio because this is a street cam. This is not their body cams. Go to the part where they drag him. Now he's just limp. Watch this. Show it again. Whew. Look at it. Look at him just standing there. He's just limp against the car. And this guy here who walking around like he all out of breath, who took the picture of it and sent it to the girlfriend, that's another mess. We're going to deal with that in a second, too.
Shut the fuck up. See you wipe your hey. Give me a hand. Give me a hand. You might get sprayed again. Hey. Hey, Mike. Hey, bro. Watch out. Watch out. Give me a hand. Mom. Hey. Give me a hand. Give me. Okay. All right. Give me a fucking hand. Give me a hand. All right. Okay. All right. Huh? Hey, man, give me your hands, bro. Give me your hands. What's up? Spray eyes again. Hey, give me your hands, bro. What's up? Spray. Give me your hands, bro. Oh, shit. Oh, shit. Give me your hands, bro. All right. Give me your hands. Give me your fucking hands. Give me your hands. Oh, shit. Give me your hands. Give me a hand. Turn around. Lay back.
Reverend Taylor.
All right.
Lay back, goddamn.
I think we got the picture.
All right.
Thank you. Thank you. All right. So I want to. I think that wow, that I'm not sure if are we still live? That may have been too violent. Yeah, I think that may have been too much for the audience to bear. I think Facebook may have kind of cut us from showing that video.
Reverend Taylor, I just got to say this real quick because I have to get back to another meeting.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry about that, but yeah, I mean, people don't need to be.
Trust me, we're still live with 100 and some people on YouTube,
Okay.
but Facebook went crazy. Go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to say this. You know, we've been through this 1,000 times, it seems, unfortunately. Just a couple of quick points. Because the officers are black doesn't take the racism out of it, because the victim is black. And when we have internalized our oppression, we have internalized self-hatred, you can't look in the mirror and see your black face and then go out there and do that to someone who looks just like you. Number one. Number two, they never I think police should be taken out of traffic stops. I don't think that police officers should engage in that. There's too many traffic stops that have led to death. Number three, I think there should be a residency law that police should live in the communities that they police. Number four, I think we should have community patrols of the police like the Black Panther had in those states where you have a license to carry, and those states where you need to just do cameras, then do cameras. I do believe if they would have come out, a patrol would have come out of there and stood right there and viewed that, he would be alive today. And number four, the controversial part for me, I guess to some, I'm totally against the death penalty, but I would make an exception for those cases of police killings, because when the public entrust the police with 9mm Glocks, with tasers, with pepper spray, with batons, and in some precincts they have little miniature tanks and all of that stuff, that this is a high level of trust that the public puts in the police force. So while I'm against the death penalty in these kinds of cases, I would make an exception. And then finally, I do have a bill in the city council, and we'll be having a press conference rally at 1:30 on Wednesday on the steps of City Hall. And this is calling for an elected civilian review board and a truly independent office to prosecute police. Right now, what exists is civilian complaint review board, where the mayor and the city council picks the members. And then after they do the investigation, the police commissioner determines what the penalty is going to be. And it's usually losing vacation days and some risk. So,
I served 11 years on that board.
Then
Yes.
So that should go. And then we should put this independent. Right now, we got to stop calling for a special prosecutor, because we have one, especially in Tish James, Attorney General office, and she especially does not indict police officers no matter what they do. So if we have an independent office that has the ability to investigate, prosecute, convict police officers, that should come out of this mass mobilization, because when you have mass mobilizations, you run the risk of people ventilating, getting angry. I can't watch this tape, it hurts. And that just gets deeply embedded in our psychic and our emotion and our spirit. And at some point, I've been at rallies when people were saying, hands up, don't shoot, I can't breathe. And that cry is turned into hands down, shoot back, now you can't breathe. Or eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth and a life for a life. And I think it's getting to the point that in any city now, even though it doesn't seem like it's going to get real bad, but we are a second away from a powder keg exploding. When they don't get justice, it just doesn't go away, the stuff inside. So for this black police commissioner to come on like she was really hurt and shocked and was just like Rodney King, oh my God. But damn it, you let them have a patrol called the Scorpions. Shit, excuse my language. Shoot, the Scorpions. Come on now, that's a deadly insect. So you telling them that they can name themselves after a deadly insect that has poison? And don't tell me that this is the first display that these officers had of acting like that. So I say that those things should happen. And ultimately, I think we do need a revolution. I know people don't think that could happen in America, but as long as you're just organizing around even if it's reparations, if you're fighting for reparations and you coming back on American plantation to spend it, or if you're fighting for freeing our political prisoners, and we have, only for them to come back in communities that are domestic colonies of a colonial capitalist system that has an imperialistic foreign policy that Malcolm talked about, Martin talked about. They were radicals and revolutionaries and both believed in socialism. So we got to look at the systemic, the system, and not just these isolated incidents. Get all upset, have these demonstrations, they last for a week or two, then we go back to business as usual. So that's what we're going to be doing in Operation Power. We're going to continue to not just mobilize, but organize for power, get in power positions so that we can control how our communities are dealt with in all the institutions. So I hate to just rush it in like that. It's a lot
No.
to talk
But
about,
listen,
but I just wanted to share my view, which is why I will always be a black radical, why I always will call out the black misleadership in the state of New York. How on God's earth do you have a black person heading up the assembly, a black person heading up the Senate, a black person as the attorney general, a black person as mayor, a black person as speaker of the city council, a black person as public advocate? We have black borough presidents, we have black district attorneys, we have blacks heading up the most powerful unions in New York, and yet 40% black poverty in our neighborhoods, double-digit unemployment. How do we have 40% black poverty and double-digit unemployment in a state that has a $220 billion state budget and a $102.7 billion city budget? And in that budget, you have $11 billion for the police, but you cut $400 million from education with a black mayor. So I think these contradictions need to be pointed out, and we need to get real black leaders who are committed to the black community in those positions, and not these sellouts in the Democratic Party that are more engaged in rugged individualism and their personal ambition than they are fighting for the rights and the freedom of the people in our neighborhoods. So I'll leave you all with that. And
well, let me just say this, Charles. Let me say this. I want to thank you for always being singular in your view and in your opinions. And, you know, we have, I think for the last 25 years, you know, been in this struggle at some point or the other, you know, and I've always respected your views. And I thank you tonight for coming on and sharing with us your views about policing. That is the focus of our concentration. I'm praying that we can come together. And when you have your rally, please reach out and let me know so I can come and stand in solidarity with you guys when you're doing anything to amplify, you know, Tyree Nichols and and just policing in general, as we cry out and say, listen, we can't stand for this any longer. So thank you so much. I know you got another show to
appreciate it very
attend to.
much. And the rally and press conference will be this coming Wednesday at 1:30 on the steps of City Hall. We're demanding a elected civilian review board and independent office to prosecute police. And then we are calling on the Black community to don't go for Black leaders coming before you with charisma, with quoting scriptures. They even try to take your business and quote scriptures and try to talk all that stuff and get you excited. Then when they get in there, I've been in the back rooms with them, been in politics for 20 years, and they're hypocrites. And they go in the back room and they don't deal appropriately with poverty. You've seen it even in housing. You know, how does Harlem and how does Bed-Stuy and all of them get gentrified when there ain't no white politicians gentrifying it?
Hey, Mr. Barron, always going to be Mr. Barron to me. Never called him city council member because, I always respect my elders. Even as a police commander, he was Mr. Barron. I just want to let you know, like, this is so deep and embedded. I don't know if you remember, maybe like 2008, 2009, we had an unarmed Black man killed on Kings Highway by a cop. You know that it was unarmed. I was very upset about the situation. You was very upset. I remember Chief Fox telling me you can't go into the yellow tape, and I said if Charles Barron can't go into the tape, all the white politicians go into the tape. He needs to get under the tape. He needs to view the video. It was very controversial shooting. Unarmed Black man was killed.
We have
they just appointed that officer that killed that unarmed man. He's now your chief of patrol in New York City, John Shaw.
And that's a shame. And he got away with it, shooting the guy in the back. But the other piece is that Eric Adams and all of them talking all of this stuff, but we still got killer cops walking around here. Amadou Diallo's cops never paid any price. Sean Bell's cops never paid any price. We have a litany of police officers in New York City that are still walking around here. How about Eric Garner's police officers never brought to justice, and now they're going to demonstrate talking about what's happening in Memphis? No, you better check out your backyard. And it's not happening here, even though you have a Black mayor, a Black police chief, and a Black head of the city council. That's a damn shame. And we need to fight to get the right Black leadership in office. And we need to be more radical in our positions. When we say radical, we mean getting to the root of the problem and not just on the symptomology. I got to leave y'all, but thank you, Reverend Taylor, for inviting me.
All right. Well, listen, I could keep you on here for hours talking about this, but thank you so much, Dr. Barron, for coming on tonight. And I do want to say to all of our real talkers on tonight that I do support the mayor, and I believe that he's doing a great job, in this city. It's unfortunate that anytime we get power, it is always at the most vulnerable, bottom place that you could be. Go back in history when Dave Dinkins took, control of the city. He was in the same position. The city was at the bottom. It was, it was crazy. And so he took over something that was almost impossible to wrap your arms around. And here we have almost the same situation with our current mayor. But we want him to succeed because his success is our success. I mean, it's a mammoth, Herculean issue and city that has to be, turned, and it's not going to be turned overnight. But anyway, but Inspector, let's talk about this video. Let's talk about
again. Thank you, Bishop, for having me on. Let's talk about the video. So, I was writing down a couple of notes. Bishop Small says that he was astonished. I just want to let you know I'm not astonished. Being in law enforcement over 30 years, I've been screaming and yelling at the top of my lungs for so many years that this isn't, everybody's mad at white cops doing stuff to Black people. I could name 100 Black cops I don't want coming to my house, but I also could name 100 white cops that I want coming to my house. It's not about the race of the cop. It's systematic, like you said, Bishop. It's the culture. How else do you explain Black cops, 5 Black officers being so comfortable to go up into a Black young man and literally kill him? without impunity, thinking there's no impunity, nobody's going to do anything to him. They weren't sympathetic to him. I'd never seen something like this other than George Floyd and Rodney King. And the only reason we got those because it's video. If we don't get video on this, it's a whole nother story. Video has changed the game. It's one piece of the puzzle, but it's a big piece now because they can watch the video. You look at this young man, they're screaming all these different commands. Who in the world could take all these commands? Put your hands behind your back, lay down, turn over. Do like you need one person. And this is supposed to be the creme de la creme elite unit. And I'm watching them deploying tasers and mace all in front of. If you look at the video, about 4 or 5 cops got maced. This is the elite unit that you have. They can't even tactically lock somebody up. And it takes 5 to 6 people. They weren't even looking to lock them up. And this is why they're going to get that 2nd degree intentional murder, because you was reckless in your behavior and you should have known that it could cause imminent physical injury or death. And that's what they're going to get caught on. Everyone at that scene is culpable, and I'll give the DA, I'll give the district attorney. I'm not giving too much light for the police chief, even though she's a friend. I know her from Noble. She used to be the national president of Noble. But remember, you're in a hot spot, you're in a top spot, you put these people in positions. And I could guarantee you $1 to a donut. If we reviewed the last 6 months of videotape from that Scorpio unit, you'll see a whole bunch of stuff like this where they should not have ever been there. But America has to get away from these units that they're having out there. Now, being a police commander working in very violent precincts, Queensbridge, you know, when I was a cop, I worked over there with you, Bishop Taylor, East New York, 7-5 precinct, Brownsville. I do know that we do need, sometimes you need that undercover cop to go there. But if it was the police department, we would train them up. It will be strict rules to it. You at least got to have 5 years on the job, at least 5 years on the job. We're going to train them up, but nobody's going to be in that unit more than 2 years. We're rotating them out. So what happens with these units, these cops get embedded in there. They're not with the regular patrol officers, so they feel godly, like they can come and do whatever they want, and they like have the patrol cops come and scoop it up. And I would never have a ratio other than 3 to 1, meaning 3 cops with 1 sergeant. There's 4 seats in the car. Every seat going to be filled up. You can have look at this scene. You got 10 cops on the scene and no supervisor.
No supervisor.
That's ludicrous. I'm talking, you know, I don't know. I work for the big bad boys. We have 50,000 cops. So our ratios was a little bit different than them. But if you don't have the ratio, then you can't have the unit. But if you got 40 cops in the unit, you at least got to have 12 supervisors. Like the numbers have to work. You just can't have cops on the low end of the totem pole going out there and we own the street. You know, I remember in New York City, we had anti-crime. Their motto was, we own the night. You got the crash unit in LA. You got the Scorpio unit out here in Memphis. You got the, what was that? Red Dogs in Atlanta. Like every one of these units, eventually something's going to happen. So Bishop, both bishops, think about this, because this is how they mask it. They say the last 6 months, they do press conferences once in a while. This elite unit took 500 guns off the street. I watched the mayor of New York City, dude, you know, good friend of mine, very good friend of mine. We studied for captain together, but he does it too. They do, you know, we took 500 guns, we did this, we did that. But then you have the one scandal to Tyree Nichols. Was it worth those 500 guns? You know, so this is what they have to start looking at. How bad do we want to get the guns? Because I mean, I'm a wealth of knowledge. I mean, I was in the streets. I sold a bunch of drugs. I worked for the Supreme team. I mean, I know how to get guns off the street. Not saying that they need to hire me, but there's ways you can do this without having plainclothes units. It's not rocket science, Bishop. Today, everybody knows who the criminals are. The police have a whole list of who the criminals are. Bishop Page, Bishop Taylor, Corey Pegues. These are 3 criminals. They already know who we are. Follow us all day long. And I'm not saying stalk them, but if you keep a tail on them, you'll be able to eventually get them. If it's for jaywalking, disorderly conduct, whatever it is, target the individuals that's committing the crime. Because we all know there's only a small percentage of the community committing crime. And there's a large percentage of the community that want that small percentage in jail or off their streets. You know, everybody know Boo Boo and Bobo, who's a menace in their community, and they have no problems with the cops harassing him and get him out of it because he's raping people, he's shooting people, he or she is robbing people. Let's target those individuals. This young man, you have the chief of police coming on national television and saying, after 3 weeks of investigation, we can't even pinpoint why they pulled the cop over, why they pulled Tyree over. They can't even, because they're indiscriminately pulling them over, but they're not doing the legwork, and it costs a lot of money. But if you want to do body cameras, then you're going to have to pay the money to review the body cameras. You're going to have to get a chunk of those body cameras and have somebody in a room 24 hours, and they're reviewing every night after they go out. You got to review with checks and balances. But the leadership, Bishop, just like in both of your churches, the leadership, it starts at the top. It's not bottom up in policing. It has to come from the top. But the message get lost in middle management. That's why it's so important and so imperative to have good leaders. And you have to deal with these cops forcefully, very, very quickly. And Bishop Taylor, you said earlier, let's talk about this beating. No, we got to change the verbiage. Let's talk about this murder. It's not a beating. It was a murder. And we got to stick to that. And as Ben Crump said today, which I will be using, this was a lynching. And the CNN analyst asked him, why would you use that word? And he said, you know why I'm using that? Because when they was lynching, they chased him, they kidnapped him, and they killed him. And that's exactly what this was. This was a modern day lynching. The only difference is it was black cops instead of white Ku Klux Klan members. And I'm saying this as a law enforcement. Let me just put this disclaimer out. My daughter just got promoted to detective at NYPD. My nephew's a sergeant in NYPD. And as Bishop Taylor know, I have thousands of police friends. But what happens is when you have these type of cases, it's not about, I know all policing ain't bad, but you got to, when this stuff happens here, it's a bigger picture. And this is why I keep saying you have to take an atomic bomb and obliterate the entire criminal justice system. You got to think about policing. It started with police slave patrols. So how do you have something that's been going on for 175 years and you still using it? You're still using it. You have to dismantle the entire system and start it all over.
Wow. Wow.
And I'm more charges coming down. So in defense of the district attorney, you said it earlier, Bishop Taylor, this was swift. This is swift. Well, it's not rocket science. We see the video. So it shouldn't take a year and a half for us to figure out was this guy. So that was good. But you got to give them some more time to get all the people on the outside, you know, the cops that came to the scene, you know, the EMS, you know, the report writers. What's on those reports, Bishop Taylor? Wait till that come out, because I already know the good old boy network. They didn't know he was going to die. They just know he went to the hospital. So now they got to get in the back and write their reports. But these reports might.
Bishop Page, I didn't know if you had a question you wanted to ask, but if not, I'll ask mine if you didn't have one.
No, you can ask him.
So let me ask you a question. Do you think that this is rather swift because the officers were black? Because we've had cases where, I mean, we had Eric Garner's video. We had a clear situation there, right? And Pantaleo, we didn't see any movement with him for 5 years, even being dismissed from the force.
Yeah. I mean, listen, you could chalk this one up. This is a straight George Floyd effect. No police commander or chief, whatever you want to call him, commissioner, is going to watch their cops kill somebody on video and take the chance of the city burning down or the entire country burning down. Let's get this video. Let's look at it. Let's be swift. Let's be stern and make sure we get some charges that could stick. They work very close.
But be honest.
Remember, Bishop, that was prior to Eric Garner.
All right, so all right.
America to see the breath taken out of somebody. Y'all know what it was. We was protesting all over the place. It was different. So now this video has really changed the game.
Wow. So let me ask you a question. Post George Floyd, if this video happened and the officers were white, would you think we would have saw the same swiftness of judgment?
Well, knowing that police chief, absolutely.
All right. Knowing, all right.
And that's just knowing on a personal level, knowing her leadership style.
If the officer, so all right, so if they were in so because the police chief is black, in Memphis, right?
Mhm.
And the officers were black. You know what I mean? If this was in another city with a different set of officers and a white police commissioner, do you think that it would have went down differently?
Well, let's bring it right home. If this happened in New York City, I could promise you they wouldn't have got arrested so quickly. So you got to look at different factions of the country.
Even post George Floyd?
Post George Floyd, we know that Pat Lynch is the biggest mouth in policing, very protective of the cops, the commissioner, the chiefs, everyone is scared of him. If this happened in New York City, I guarantee you it would not have happened this quickly. Even with pressure from the mayor saying, let's, because they have time. There's so many rules and regulations. When you're working in at-will states, they don't have no unions, they don't have no rights. You can fire left and right. And this is how you get a Pantaleo for 4 or 5 years, because the unions are so strong, and the laws, they protect the cops pretty much. The whole qualified immunity, they protect them, which is, I'm not saying that's a bad thing, because if a cop did something that he should be protected, yes, he should be protected. But remember, those protections go for everybody. So it's going to go for the good cop and it's going to go for the bad cop. So it just really kind of depends on where it happens and how the union rules are, or the laws in that state. Now, obviously, there in 3 weeks, it is something that was warp speed. I know you said Amadou Diallo, a few years, Eric Garner, 4 or 5 years, Sean Bell. Like, these cases take so many years that we forget about them.
Wow. Bishop Page, what say ye?
Man, I'm flabbergasted, to be quite frank with you. Why do we have to keep going through this same exercise? It just makes no sense. How many more times are we going to have to talk about this same issue before there is a change? There must be a change. And I think that's really the problem. I agree with the gentleman that was on prior. It's so systemic until you deconstruct it all and reconstruct it all. There's not going to be a change. It's the system is constructed for abuse of power. So what do? Background checks. We do that already. I mean, you're going to always get a few that are demonic, if I can use that term, that's going to fall through the crack. And there's some bad people that interview well, and there's some good people that interview bad. And that, I mean, you can't open up a person's heart to see how toxic and poison it is. It's a byproduct of their behavior when they're put in certain situations. And I think this is not an isolated incident with these men. This is a pattern of behavior that probably has been going on for many years, but they have never been called into any level of accountability. And if they have, they got a slap on the wrist, and they probably got suspended. They probably, went through some steps of rehabilitation. But when you call yourself a part of a special unit, it's a psyche that goes along with being a part of a special unit. You're going to be violent. You're going to be aggressive, because that's part of being classified a specialist in getting guns off the street or stopping drug dealers. There's a certain psyche that goes along with that. It's just like a football player and these athletes that play these aggressive sports. They can't turn that aggression off. So what happens? They wind up committing domestic violence offenses because that aggression, you just can't turn it on and turn it off. And I just think that we're gonna, listen, I don't know the answer, to be quite honest with you. I'm just, again, incensed beyond words, because it does not make any sense. And you know what I'm thinking about, Corey, Bishop? In Proverbs chapter 11, verse 3, it says, the integrity of the upright guides them, but the crookedness of treacherous destroys them. When you are upright, when you have integrity, you're going to treat people right. But when you are crooked, when you are treacherous, it only takes the right situation for what is in you to be characterized through your behavior. These men are toxic. And I think all of them in their own right, all of them have some serious psychological issues going on in order to be that senseless and insensitive. That's seeing someone lay there lifeless.
Think about the mandate that they're given. So I could talk about NYPD. You know what these cops are told in these anti-crime units? You have to bring in 4 felonies a month. So you got 5 cops and 1 sergeant. Usually the ratio is 1 to 5. So that's 20 felonies, right? They can't come in with a jaywalker. So they got to come in with rape, robbery, murder, stolen cars, shooting, gun. So, like I've coined this phrase a long time ago, in black and brown communities, the police hunt, white communities, they protect and serve. So where you're going to go, where you have a mandate, you're going to go where you got to hunt.
But Corey, not to cut you off, you said something very powerful there. Mm-hmm. Hunters are predators.
That's right.
You must have a predatorial mentality. And to have a predatorial mentality is cognitive dissonance. You're not rational in your thoughts. You're not taught to protect and serve. You're caught to hunt. Animals hunt. So that means they're treating who they hunt like an animal. And I'm glad you said that. That is cognitive dissonance at the highest level. You can't think rational when you're trained to be a predator.
Mm-hmm. And look at the arrogance, Bishop Taylor. Look at this arrogance. We look at this video. You have 7 or 8 cops with body cameras on, and none of them even thought to blow the camera. If you really look further, your producer, if you look further in the video, you'll see one cop with his flashlight. He looked up and saw the street camera. You'll see him flash his. So, and I already know because he's a cop. In his mind, he's like, "OS, we messed up." He's not even thinking about the body camera at this point. He sees that pole camera there. Now, if they were good cops, they'd know where all the pole cameras. I was a commander. I knew where all the pole cameras was because I had to place them there. Watch that video later at your leisure. You're going to see a cop, another black cop. He takes the flashlight right to the camera, and you can't really see because it's but I could guarantee you he probably said, "Yo, it's a pole camera right there," because he did it like 3 times. I caught that.
Corey, let me ask you a question. Bishop, if I can ask him a question, let me ask you a question. As a commander in charge of making sure there's cameras on the poles, and the cameras on the pole are not just for the protection of the police officers, but they're also protection for the pedestrians, right? Now, when you have a special unit that is trained to hunt, to be predators, after a certain amount of months, quarterly, every 6 months, once a year, do they ever go through a psych evaluation? Wouldn't it be better to put these Negroes in a psychological evaluation to make sure that something didn't snap? Because I need one. Personally, pastoring, I need a doggone psychological evaluation from time to time, because when you think about dealing with people all the time in the ebb and flows that go along with their personality, my personality, their disposition, my disposition, their attitude, my attitude, is you have to take a step back. and do something called self-care, because mentally you're going to snap. And I believe, now this is just me, I don't know, but I think some of them guys that were hitting him, it wasn't even about him anymore. I think you have a lot of frustration. And when you have an opportunity to release that frustration within the bounds of what you think is doing a good job, you cross the line. Because anytime you hit another human being, you crossing the line, unless your life is in imminent danger. The young man was not trying to fight. Nope. He wasn't trying to scuffle. No. And this is my issue. If you're that much of a scorpion, take the handcuffs off and give him a fair shot by saying, you know what? You're going to fight each of us one-on-one. We ain't going to jump in one by one. Let's go at this. But they handcuffed him. And then all 4 to 5 police officers attack him. That's cowardice behavior to the highest degree. And I really believe it's a psychological deficiency. Something snapped. Something went wrong. They've been on the job too long. They've gotten away with too many things. Now they feel entitled. Something snapped in their mind. So you being a commander, being in those high level positions, are there any periods of time where you would suggest to those out in the field, you need a psych evaluation?
Those are great points that you made, and just let me let you know. So how it usually works in the NYPD, again, this is the big dog. It's the big dog. So everybody usually follow the big dog. You do a psychological evaluation when you come out to get onto the job, and then if there's something that jumps out, we can send you to psychological services, and that's what you're talking about. So that's where leadership comes in, Bishop. Dr. Page, that's where leadership comes in. If you're not focusing, I'm the commander because I'm not with these guys every day, but what I could analyze is from what I see in coming in. Every time Officer Smith makes an arrest, attached to it is disorderly conduct or resisting arrest. Every single one. Hey, let me sit him down. So I had a white cop that worked for me in East Flatbush in the 6-7 precinct, and I had to bring him in my office. I said, you've been here for 3 years. You got like 12 civilian complaints. Most cops don't even get 10 in their whole career. What's going on here? And you know what he told me? He said, I didn't really understand the people when I got here. So he just basically told me he didn't understand black people. And I sat him down. I said, fine, I get it. I know what you're saying, but you do know that these residents look like me, right? So I called his sergeant in and I said, hey, Sarge, this is your new partner. I better not see you with any other driver. This is the only person that's working with you the 5 days that you work. And every time he get out of line, you're going to have to deal with me. I'm not even giving you to the lieutenant or the captain. You directly report to me his behavior every week. But that's leadership. That's some outside the box. That's really believing. Like, I know that community, the commissioner put me there to protect and serve. And can I stop Eric Garner? I can't necessarily stop it. But the things that I pick up on, like you said, we got to make sure that we're on it. But that's leadership. That's real leadership. With most people, and y'all know, in leadership positions, just want to go along to get along. And I used to always tell sergeants, lieutenants, when I bring them in and say, being a leader, the first thing you do, nobody's going to like you. You want this position, nobody's going to like you. No matter how good you do, the first time you tell somebody, no, you can't get a day off, they're going to hate your guts. So you might as well do things right the first day. That's just how I was, Bishop. I mean, I would do the roll call and tell people, listen, if you do something today in front of me, I'm telling. We're gonna take the guessing out who called internal affairs. It's gonna be me.
That's a good point right there. How does and I know you may not be able to share all of it, but I know you know this. How does internal affairs work? Because I thought, now this is just Liston Page, outsider, watching television shows, police programming, TJ Hooker, all of that, Starsky and Hutch. Listen, all of that, watching just all what's that elite
Law and Order.
Law and Order, those elite units that you see on television. This is what I thought. Internal Affairs was a part of the police department, that you had certain individuals that worked in internal affairs that would be kind of hidden in, or would assimilate into certain parts of the police department, and they were the watchdogs, just to make sure everyone is doing things through proper protocol and proper channels. Now, that's what I thought. Now, if I'm wrong, please enlighten me. But I thought that an internal affairs police officer is a police officer, but he's a police officer that the other police officers don't know is internal affairs, watching them to make sure that they're walking the straight and narrow. Now, am I correct with that?
A little bit, 50%. So Internal Affairs Bureau is a big unit. So, they're the watchdogs of policing, right? They're supposed to be the watchdog. So as a commander, I could call in every precinct, they have a team that covers a precinct, right? So let's say Bishop Taylor was working for me and I thought he was on the take. I could call a local IAB commander and say, listen, put a tail on this guy, Taylor. I think he's stealing. So they're not like directly, because that team might have 5 precincts, so they're not always embedded in there. Or I could tell them, I think something is going on here in the precinct. Now they embed somebody in the precinct, but it's not always embedded. It's more because it's just not enough to go around. They're doing investigations, trying to figure out these crimes that cops did, domestic violence or whatever. They robbed a bank off duty. So if something comes up, you can tell them, and then they'll come into the precinct. And it's supposed to be confidential. Remember that. Now, you got to also remember that these are police, and everybody knows somebody, my uncle, my nephew, this, that, and the other.
I got you.
Sometimes it's convoluted. Information gets back, and now the behavior stops. So you can't even get rid of the guy or girl.
Wow.
But this has been, I think, I have to admit, I really was, because I did look at the video several times, and I mean, it really challenged my temperament and how I would control it. But Bishop, you said something that was it hit home to me. As a pastor, as a leader of people, you're interacting with people. I would say that pastors interact with people, depending on how they are embedded in their individual ministries. Like yourself, you're a national itinerant speaker who preaches for Thomas Dexter Jakes, Noel Jones, and every major, Jennison Franklin, every major church in the country, as well as pastoring your local church. So you may have some breathing room in between that interaction with people. But think about the pastors that are, and just you even having a breather from that daily track of pastoring and saying, listen, I need someone to counsel me. Imagine an officer. I just did the roll call inspector at the 2-8 in Harlem and on Friday. And predominantly Black precinct, Black commanding officer, everything, and those guys, it's difficult when you're policing a 90% Black community and you have 90% Black officers, Black and brown officers, and every single day, boom, 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 the same thing. You definitely need some counseling. And I was saying, I was there with Eric B and myself, and we were talking to the officers. Another Reverend Rice, Reverend Rice, Corey, he was there, and we were saying to because one of the officers from the 2-8 took his life a week or so ago. I forgot the gentleman's name. Young officer took his life because cancer came back again. It was a story anyway. The precinct was really down. We was just saying to the officers, listen, if you don't want to talk to, Cam, if you don't want to talk to the precinct, designated chaplains, the department chaplains, and go through Papa and all those things that they have to help officers, you can come to your pastor or come to the clergy liaisons that and have relationships. We are sworn to secrecy. We can't tell your business, and we can't share it with law enforcement or anybody else. Encouraging them before you do something that you can't undo, talk to somebody. Because the reality is when you're doing this kind of policing in New York, we could talk about, oh, they should do this. Oh, they should do that. You're an inspector. It's not easy policing in New York, especially when you want to do the right thing.
It's not easy, but it's a stigma. I'm sorry.
Doc. No, go ahead, Commander.
No,
go ahead.
It's a stigma to reach out for help in policing. It's a very machismo job. And so, again, from the top, having Dr. Page, having Bishop Taylor get to these priests, Pastor Monroe's, having y'all get down to these precincts and constantly talk because they're not listening to the leadership. So the cops, if the leadership say reach out for help, most of the times they get down there and they talk to a psychiatrist and they say one thing wrong, they take their guns. And the worst thing as a cop is for you not to have your guns. And they don't just take your guns. They take them like it might be a year, it might 18 months before you get depending on what the severity of the situation is. And so most cops, they just suck it up. And like both of y'all said, they're holding this on their chest. They're holding it on their chest. And then they encounter Mr. Tyree Nichols on a car stop who in their mind had the nerve to run away. The nerve of a black man to run away from the cops today after seeing all the stuff that's happening. And he already was on the ground. They said, yo, I'm already on the ground. I'm going to tell you, shut the F up. I'm going to knock you in your face. You hear the language that was going on there? To me, that was pretty much an easy arrest. It looked like it was 3 cops right there.
Listen, let me tell you something. They better not stop me. Hell, I'm going to run too. I'm going to run now in Jesus' name. They better not stop me.
Not quicker than me.
Liston Page is running with my Bible in my hand. I'm running down the highway. I'm telling you, because let me tell you something. It's just unfathomable to even think that we're having this kind of conversation of black and brown bodies. So I'm telling you straight up, if you hear that a preacher was running down 95 with a collar on, it was Liston Page. Because I'm running for my life.
Dr. Page, but
I'm just telling you. I'm just telling you straight up. I'm telling you.
The car stop. Right? Whatever they say was reckless driving. Look at the aggression going up to the car. Now, I have a 17, he's 25 years old, and I have a 36-year-old son. And I'm telling, they know the drill. Hands up, follow all orders. They come to your car, say, sir, my wallet's in my right pocket. I'm not going to reach for it until you tell me to reach or just take me out of the vehicle. Like, we're not going to play games. But at that situation there, how do I tell my sons to survive that? Because my thing is, listen, we got money for lawyers. I need you to survive that encounter. We'll deal with everything else later. How do you tell your child to survive an encounter where Tyree pulled over and they came with a full force of aggression?
Listen,
open the door,
I'm gonna tell you what to tell you, son. I'm gonna tell you what to tell you, son. You ever seen Roots? You remember that movie Roots? Yes. And Kunta Kinte? Yes. And Kunta Kinte ran. I'm laughing, but God knows I'm serious at heart attack. Tell him, Kunta Kinte, run as fast as run to somebody's house, run to a precinct. You know what I was thinking? This is what I was thinking. It would have been better for him to run to a police station. He may have survived had he run into a police station or a hospital.
Well,
He may have survived.
Can I just? I know we're almost near it. We're a little over time, but I got to share this one thing here. Listen, turns out Tyree Nichols worked at FedEx, and so did Officer Demetrius Haley's ex and mother of his child. Demetrius took a picture of Tyree Nichols laying on the ground and sent it to his ex.
Is that confirmed, Bishop? Remember, I was out the country. I'm just jumping back in the country. Is that confirmed? So I don't want to speak on that issue if it's not coming from a legitimate source of news, and because you have all of these internet trolls. That's
right.
So Bishop, let's just.
You know what? I'm not gonna. I'll tell you what
I'm saying, Bishop, because I was looking crazy out there because some internet. Let's verify it from a police. When the police put it out, then I'm gonna believe it. These internet trolls I heard on any news program. You understand? Let's just be let's be guarded.
Right.
I don't want to look like a clown or a buffoon.
No, I got you.
Came out because I read that today, and I was researching. I have cops in Memphis. Friends. I have friends all around the country, and it hasn't been confirmed. Enough for me.
Thank you for that point of correction. Thank you, because I got that from an unofficial law enforcement source that sent me that. But you're right. I can't confirm it. Only
I just want us, the community, we speaking out on this. I want us to dot our T's, cross our I's, because I don't want them saying anything. Look at these guys, they making up all this stuff. They make it up. No. We're gonna go right down the line. We're gonna dot our T's. We're gonna cross our I's when we speaking. We're gonna speak from a space of knowledge, wisdom, and understanding of what happened at this of Tyree Nichols.
Yes. Well, I know what I saw in the video. I saw them wrestle him to the ground. Then he escaped for his life and ran. And when the cop came, when the car said, what happened? They said he ran that way. The car sped off after him. Then, the way we edited the video, we showed you, so we wouldn't be there all night. Right. We showed you then them apprehending him, had him in cuffs. And while he was on the ground, you saw the officer come up to him 3 times and kicked him in the head. Boom, boom, boom. Then they stood him up and began to punch him, just in the head. Boom, boom, 3, 4, 5 times. Then got him back on the ground and beat him some more. And then drug him to the car and pushed him against the car. And
you missed the metal ass too, Bishop. If you look again at it, one cop came up, he had his metal ass. It's like a baton. Yeah, and he was beating him. You missed that. I was waiting for you to. I guess you're producing it and brief you on that. He's getting beat with a metal ass. Also, this is after 5 or 7, 10 minutes getting beat down.
That's correct.
Over.
Commander, that is correct. And they hit him a few times with that metal baton in the back of his head. And if you see him laying in the hospital, his head is swollen. His contorted. I mean, it's
bad.
Contorted. It's a horrible sight. It's a horrible sight. And again, I can't wrap my head around this happening in 2023. It's bad enough that it happens to us over and over again, but it's even more startling when our own people do it to their people. I don't understand the self-hate other than We can call it the post-traumatic slave syndrome. We can always connect it back to the transatlantic trade, slave trade. But I think it's a lot deeper than that too. It's deeper than that. This is 2023. We should not be handling each other like that. We just shouldn't be doing it. It's horrible. And a lot of this should be spoken to and spoken about from the church. I think we have a mandate and a responsibility, and I think we're being irresponsible to be afraid to bring this to the forefront and talk about it from our pulpits, take time out of the celebratory presentations of our presentations, and let's talk real talk. Saints, listen. Real love doesn't do this. We got to find a way to get love out there in our communities, love for our people. We got to find a way, and the people that don't have that love, we got to find a way to get them out of certain offices, in certain positions, because like you said, it all goes back to leadership. It goes back to the leadership. You can't tell me that these officers superiors couldn't see these guys these guys are on the edge all the time. You just don't go from 0 to 100 like that. Come on. And I thought, now again, correct me, Commander, I thought as a police officer, violence and aggression is the last resort, and it's when your life is in imminent danger.
Oh, without a doubt, there's levels. You just don't go from A to Z, Z being shooting the gun. You understand? You have to, it's verbal. You give a verbal command. You might use the mace. You might use the baton. You might have to put your dukes up. It's levels to this whole thing. But when you had I'm talking about a one-on-one thing. This is one person. Now I got to do this. Oh, do I got to make some? I'm by myself. You got 3, 4, 5, 6 people. This is easy. This is like taking candy from a baby. You watch him on the ground. This is like what hurts us so bad. We watch this man on the ground. And they said, you got these catchphrases now in every video. What you see, stop resisting. Put your hands behind. We're watching his hands is behind his back and he's not resisting. These have become catchphrases in American policing for the police to justify their criminal actions. You watch every single video, they're saying the same thing. Stop resisting. Put your hands behind the back. And Mr. Nichols actually said, I'm on the ground. I got my hand behind my, like, what else you want me to do? If you get off me, maybe I could lay in a prone position to put the other hand. So we got to really look at these videos, scale them all the way down, frame by frame by frame. I'll be on Court TV on Wednesday from 9 to 11, breaking this case down with the head of a PBA in Florida, this white gentleman. I'm going to read him the riot act because I already know he's on all defense. It's Court TV channel. So the name of it is Court TV on the channel. Oh, I have Verizon is 490.
Okay, Court TV. All right, folks, you're going to see Inspector Pegues on tomorrow, Corey Pegues on Court TV tomorrow. On Wednesday. Wednesday, 9 a.m. to 11 a.m.
9 to 11, yep.
9 a.m. to 11. Listen, Inspector, I want to thank you. You just got off the plane. I feel so guilty that you probably suffering from jet lag and so whatnot, and you came on. Thank you so much, sir. I really appreciate you, and we're going to be praying that you have a very successful engagement. The next few days are going to be very busy for you, as I'm sure that all the networks and folks are going to be asking for your opinion. I'm just glad that the Real Talkers tonight got a chance to hear you live and in color, and sharing some real truths with us on tonight. Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. Thank you,
Bishop, for having me. Great meeting you, Dr. Page. You already know, y'all family. Anything you need from me, Bishop, I'm always going to be there. I just love how you have presented yourself for the past 3.5 decades. You changed that entire community. I remember from the beginning, you have changed that community. You've been a stalwart in this whole entire city. I can't remember any mayor, the last 5 or 6 mayors, not having you on their inside team. And for that, the community of Queens and the city of New York, everybody, we adore you. You already know what my love is for you, Bishop. Thank you very much for having me.
I appreciate you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Inspector. Appreciate you. Well, Bishop Page, listen, I don't know. God has put us in this position to be what we are. You know, I don't know what we are today. We're something. We're the senior statesmen. We hit the big 6-0. We're you know, almost 4 decades deep in ministry. And listen, we had a fabulous leadership. We got to go. I know we're going. Those of you, listen, we got over 100 some odd people watching us tonight. I appreciate them being on. It was much more than that on, believe it or not, as we were earlier near, because we usually from 9 to 10 o'clock, we're off. It's already 10:20 or whatever. So we're far over our time, and we still have a lot of people watching us. We haven't even taken the offering tonight. Put the offering up so that we could just chat while we're getting off the air here. Just everyone tonight, just chime in with an offering of $23. Those of you that can't serve in the 23 category, get a seat of 13 on tonight, 23, 13, or 3. Those are the 3 categories on tonight, 23, 13, or 3. Bishop Page, so, I mean, wow. Woo. Wow. Listen, but let me just say this before we go back to that. Your leadership summit on this past weekend was amazing.
Thank you.
I don't know if you got a chance to hear my Sunday morning broadcast, but I talked about the leadership summit in detail, and I took your packet and I told Hassan to plagiarize every piece of it and launch it for us in the next 60 days. And so that was his assignment. But I was so impressed with everything. Oh man, at the university, the way your staff treated all of us, and how, I mean, first class dining. I just listen. I was trying to figure out, could I come back Sunday morning?
Man, it was marvelous. I cannot take the credit for it. I have to give the credit to the team, Tara Foxworth, Pastor Hattie Robinson, Dr. Doreen Bryan Escobar, Dr. Uridel Davis, my media team, Frankie Stevenson, Trinity Miller, Alicia Davis. I have to thank Dr. Alan Walker, and if I start calling names, I'm gonna get in more trouble. But all of my team, I couldn't do it by myself. It was not one of my productions. It was a team collaborative effort. So I'm just blessed. I'm really blessed. And we had let me say this. We had such a tremendous response from your presentation about entrepreneurship and how you have mastered that whole total man piece. And that's what I call it, ministering to the total man. And, I think that you are really, not just because you're my best friend, but I am so, and I don't say this in a patriarchal way either, or paternal way. I'm so proud of you and how God has blessed you to have that business mind, that administrative mind, how you're structured and organized, and it all exudes out of you when you start teaching. And we were tremendously blessed. I think someone may have been disappointed when you made statements about they may be too old to buy a house. But I think, what you were saying is that you can buy a house, but it should be based on your financial portfolio at that time. And if it's going to be a 30-year commitment, you take that commitment in mind with it being a legacy, or it's going to be an heirloom passed down into your family for for perpetuity. So I understood that. But man, it was, trust me, it was, we're made the better because you were there. So I want to thank you again for being a vital clog of my leadership summit.
Well, I appreciate it. Thank you so much for listen. Now I can't afford to give you more offering tonight for you give me that plug. Because I just saw some people taking me up on that $3 offering. And I love it. Thank you so much for your seeds. Really, whether you're giving the 23, the 13, or the 3. I pray to the Lord, God gonna touch somebody's heart and say, let me throw some favor at these two guys. But I mean, it's you gotta laugh to keep from crying, because this is real talk, man. This is what we're dealing with. I guess if we had some parting comments, I gotta rephrase and reframe and reshape these words of advice to parents that are parenting Black boys in urban communities and even suburban communities. There's, you're vulnerable in either place. I mean, what do you tell people now? If you get pulled over by a police officer, turn your car off, roll your windows down, turn your dome lights on, shut your mouth, don't be smart, don't be slick, don't be cool. If you can turn your phone on and call somebody while this is going on, and sit the phone on the seat so that somebody can hear what's happening while you're being interrogated. These are just some of the things that, I know as not tricks, but just protective means and measures that will keep you safe. Bishop, I don't know if you want to add something to that.
Mitch, I think we all have given our sons and our nephews and our sons in ministry and those who we have the opportunity and the pleasure of leading. When you get stopped, don't be combative. Don't be recalcitrant. Just do whatever they ask you to do. Limit your chatter back and forth with them, because you don't know what type of day they're having, and you don't know if they're having a bad day, if they're going to take it out on you. I mean, you got to be prayerful. You just have to be prayerful, and you have to do all you can to stay within the boundaries of the law. I mean, make sure your vehicle is registered properly. Make sure you have your insurance card, your registration. Make sure that your license is not suspended. Pay your tickets. I mean, those are things that we should do. But now we ought to do them, because if they run your license plate or they don't run your license plate, if they see you in a nice vehicle, I mean, you get stopped. So, I mean, but I've learned you just cannot be combative. You have to try to be as kind and accommodating as you can, because you want to be able to walk away from that encounter. You want to be able to get home safely. And that's what's most important, getting home from that encounter safely to your loved ones.
Wow.
On a side note, Ricky Smiley's son also passed on yesterday as well. His son, Brandon. I don't have all of the information attached to it, but I've had some of my friends from Birmingham, Alabama text me today and gave me that information. So let's be in prayer for Ricky Smiley and his family, and his son's mother and his siblings and all of that family.
Yes, we will. Yes, we will. Thank you so much for bringing that to our real talkers tonight so that we can be in prayer for them. And you said something that was also significant that we can't forget. Let's pray for the families of those officers.
Please, Mitch,
because
please.
You know what? Oftentimes the wives and the children, they're innocent bystanders.
And they will be labeled now for the rest of their lives. They will wear that stigma. Some of them may even have to move out of Memphis.
Yeah.
I mean, so they won't be hazed and won't be just interrogated by the public all the time. So, I mean, we really have to pray for their families, their parents, if they're still alive, their wives, girlfriends, whoever. We really need to ask God's protection for them as well.
That's true. The ways to give are on the bottom of the screen. If I can get 10 or 20 more people to sow a seed on today and put done in the comment section, whatever that seed size is, let's prepare to do it now before we digress into our close. And I think, Bishop, we had a great, I had Detective Jeff Garcia, also a retired detective. He could have given you some perspective on internal affairs because he worked undercover and had some interaction and some, interface with internal affairs during his career. And but we'll bring him on next week. We'll get Jeff on next week. Detective Jeff Garcia, retired NYPD detective, and we'll talk more about the progression of where Tyree Nichols and the case has gone. I know that they've asked Reverend Sharpton to do the eulogy, and I see they have Ben Crump representing the family, and two great choices to be a part of this tragic story that we are narrating on this evening. And we're praying, as you said, for the families of everyone that is involved here. And I'm sure that post tonight we'll have more, to talk about on next Monday. And I'm sure that between now and next Monday, there's going to be some more real issues that are going to need some real talk from some real people like Dr. Liston Page Jr. and myself. Just a point of information, starting on Wednesday in the morning at 6 a.m. Throw that fly up real quick. We have our Wednesday morning word. Invite you to come and join me. Sanctuary opens up at 5 a.m. and then the service at 6. Thank you, T. And then 7 p.m. Bishop Liston Page is on with his School of the Bible. And what is the pastor's Jonathan Peck? Am I saying it right? Pack?
Jonathan Pack. But yeah, we'll be on this coming Wednesday, but I'm going to be in a revival starting Wednesday and Thursday in Milwaukee, and then I'll be going to I think I'm going to I forget where I'm going, somewhere, Columbus, Georgia, somewhere, but I'll be back. Of course, I'll be back in my pulpit on Sunday. So I'll be traveling starting tomorrow for the rest of the week. So, but I'll be back and doing my lives while I'm out.
I'll be trailing you on Thursday. I'll be going down to the great sunny state of Miami. So I'll be down there, and I'll be.
We need to switch. You need to go to Georgia. Let me go to Miami.
Well, I'm be hanging with Bishop Victor Curry.
Okay.
And I think I'm going to see Mark Cooper as well.
Okay.
But yeah, we're going to have a great time this weekend. We'll be back hopefully in time for all and we had a great baptism this past Sunday, and baptized almost 20 candidates.
Wow.
Thank you, Yvette, for your seed of 23 on tonight. And I think I'm gonna make it more of a point to really amplify the importance of baptism, something that I think that over the last 2 years we've lost momentum on, but we, now that we're back in, we need to do more of that. Okay, well, that's it. I mean, listen, all hearts and minds are clear. I'm still waiting on some more folks to sow their seeds on tonight. I want to thank, let me see, we got Yvette, Melinda, thank you so much. Stella, thank you so much for your seed. Stella sold quadruple. Thank you. $92 seed from Stella. Claudette, thank you for your seed on tonight. Odessa, thank you for your seed on tonight. Carol, thank you for your seed on tonight. Alicia, thank you for your seed on tonight. Wendy, thank you for your seed on tonight. So those are the persons that have sown thus far. And I just want to thank you. We appreciate you. You still have time to give if you haven't given. And we encourage you to give on tonight. All right. Well, Bishop, look, I've abused you long enough, Bishop. I'm sorry. The real talkers got everything we can get out of you guys tonight. I'm like an Energizer bunny. Just wind me up, and I just keep on going and going and going and going. So you got to pull. The red light's been flashing. I ignored it, And then when I started talking about the FedEx thing, the red lights start turning around like this. Not confirmed. Not confirmed. Not confirmed. And then Inspector Pagee said the same thing. Well, Bishop, we don't know yet. So anyway, they're so right. It's good to have people that put up guardrails for you.
Listen, Talisha and that staff that you have, my niece and that staff, they're tremendous. They're really tremendous. We cannot say enough about both of our media ministries. We really cannot say enough. And the more we say these nice things about them, we can amplify it or magnify it 1,000 times more, because there's no way we can do what we do really without them. And that's why I think, in my humble opinion, people need to be more sensitive as it relates to giving when we ask, because we certainly don't ask for ourselves, but we do ask in hopes that they're gratuitous enough that we can bless those who work behind the scenes, because they should be compensated. They really should be compensated.
I'm gonna go one further than that. At this point, they have been embedded into the fabric of our financial structure.
That's right.
To make, people that are doing what we're doing. So what I'm asking people to do is, when you sow your seed, you're just enabling us to meet the budget, because the budget is the budget.
It is what it is.
The budget is the budget. And so we need, when you give, we're not chasing a dollar. We're not chasing the bouncing ball. The budget is the budget. And at the end of, our prayer is at the end of 12 months, we have been able to meet that budget and have been good stewards and have managed to it, not beyond it. But we've had supporters to undergird it.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think, that's what we need. We need those kind of people to understand, so that we don't have to be up here begging and we're not doing that. That's not what we're going to do. Okay. But God will take care of his business if we take care of his. Bishop, why don't we had such a secular show on tonight. Why don't you just give us a final closing prayer on tonight, and then we'll give the final goodbye, which is what I say at the close of every show, and that'll be it.
Well, Lord, we're so thankful and we're so appreciative and we're really so grateful that you have allowed us to come together. We thank you for the Real Talkers, the Real Talk audience. We thank you for this platform. We thank you for this vehicle that you have blessed us to raise up through the Kohi Nation and through Bishop Mitchell Taylor, to just get the word of God out, to be very social conscious and to share what we feel important matters going on in society, in the world. Many of these discussions can be extremely polarizing and unnerving and uncomfortable. But God, we thank you for helping us to navigate and to maneuver through all of the dialogue and the discussions. And God, my prayer, our prayer, is that what we sow into the lives of people, that it take root and that it grows and that they develop and that they mature, that they matriculate and that they become an express image of you in the earth. God, we thank you again for just an opportunity to address all of the egregious, heinous acts that go on in our world. And I pray that you bring comfort, that you bring peace to all the families in Memphis, Tennessee. God, give them a comfort and a peace that will surpass all understanding, that's going to guard their hearts and their minds. Knowing you now, the way that I do, what I pray, what I decree, what I declare has come to pass. It is done now. In Jesus' name, amen. Amen.
Thank you, Bishop. You heard it right here on Real Talk. We'll see you on Wednesday morning, and we'll see you next Monday night for Real Talk. Remember, walk with the King today and be a blessing.